This is Andy Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I am joined by Matt Macklin over Zoom for the first time in 2021. Matt, first and foremost, Happy New Year. How are you? I hope you enjoyed the festive period.
Yeah, Happy New Year, Andy. Look, it was what it was. It was very low-key, very quiet, as it was for everyone, I'm sure. But I'm just glad that that year's out the way. But look, this year we're not off to much of a better start, are we? We're doom and gloom already. But listen, hey-ho, things can't last forever. Tough times don't last, tough people do. So we push on.
Yeah, I was about to say, Matt, obviously we could get our teeth into some boxing in January, but unfortunately that is not the case. And we will come on to that very shortly. But let's just go back to this past weekend, the first big fight of the year where we saw Ryan Garcia overcome and stop Luke Campbell. Just reflect on that fight for me, Matt. What did you make of Ryan's performance and stoppage victory?
I was very impressed. Very impressed. I picked Luke Campbell to win. I thought that he might know a little bit too much for Garcia at this stage of Garcia's career. There's no doubt in Garcia's potential, but he hadn't been in there with anyone like Luke Campbell. You know, Luke had been there with Lomachenko and Linares, he was an Olympic gold medalist. So it was a big jump from what he'd been fighting. But I suppose you only get up there by making the jump. And you know, the Robert Diaz is a golden boy matchmaker, a good friend of mine actually, he knows what he's doing. And he was confident, he was very confident. But then I was thinking, is he that confident because he's golden boy and he's his fighter and he has to be? You're not sure, are you? And I just thought, they might have bitten off a little bit more than they can chew in Luke Campbell just now. But listen, you have to give credit where credit's due, and you have to admit when you're wrong. And Garcia was absolutely brilliant, you know, because he got put down, he got hit with a shot. It was a great shot from Luke Campbell. And Luke boxed well. Luke, you know, I didn't agree with the commentators on the zone. I didn't agree with the judges' scorecards. I actually had it I think I had Campbell a round up going into that last round when he got stopped. Listen, it was close. I thought it was close. It wasn't close on the cards. And the zone commentators didn't have it close. I did think it was close because even though Garcia did look like the boss in there, don't get me wrong, he did look like the boss in there. There was a 10-8 round, and even some of them other rounds after that, the third and fourth, I thought Campbell was putting good body shots in. That left hand to the body was working a tree. He was, you know, landing some straight lefts down the middle. He was jabbing. I thought he was boxing well. Listen, I think the tide has certainly turned. Rounds 5 and 6, Garcia definitely looked like he was starting to boss it now. He was strong. He was walking forward. He kept stepping to him, and he was landing shots, and you could see. I think when he clipped, he didn't put him down when he hurt him at the end of the 5th, I think it was. You know what I mean? You could see that the writing was on the wall, I thought, at that point. I thought it was a matter of time then. But I have to say, I was very, very impressed with Ryan Garcia. I think, you know, there's been a lot of hype about him. We know he's got a big profile. But I think he justifies the hype now. You know, listen, he's in a red-hot division. You know, he might not win. He might not even win his next fight. It could be Devin Haney, and maybe he doesn't win that. But I think we know it ain't just hype now. The kid can really fight because Luke Campbell's a good fighter, so he can definitely fight. You know, look, he's in a great division. Like I say, look, Santa Cruz, Lopez. You know, Lopez is the number one. He's the man who beat the man, so he's number one. Let's not forget Lomachenko. He's still there, but. Listen, maybe Santa Cruz could be the best out of them all. We don't know. We know that it's an absolute scorching hot division. Whether that stays there, you know, maybe Lopez makes a defense and moves up. He's big at the weight. But I think over the next 5 years, you know, hopefully over the next couple, I hope we don't have to wait 5 years. But I think hopefully in 5 years' time, I hope we're talking about this crop of fighters. About what a golden era it was, that they had rematches, they had trilogies, there was round robin. You know, we want this batch of fighters to get it on. We want the fights to happen. These could be superstars. You know, Ryan Garcia has the star quality, the marketability, and now he's proven that he's got ability as well to really become a superstar. Then Devin Haney, he's the same. He's similar. He could be a superstar. Lopez beat Lomachenko, but they'll only become superstars by fighting each other and having, you know what I mean, and having those massive fights, which boxing needs right now. And we're lucky that we have got this a crop of talent together at the same time that have still got their whole careers ahead of them. These aren't guys over the hill. No, Lomachenko maybe's on that downward spiral now, but Lopez, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, even not Santa Cruz, Tank Davis, Gervonta Davis. These guys are still getting better. Do you know what I'm saying? These guys are still improving, but let's not wait. Let's make these fights. Some will win, some will lose, and they'll come back from the losses. Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, they lost. So what? They came back and won world titles and stepped up in weights. That's what, the greatness was how they came back from defeats and win again. So we're lucky to have this group of fighters now. So I just hope and pray that the politics and the business side of boxing doesn't stop the sporting element from coming to the forefront, and we get the best fighting the best in their primes now, not years from now.
Just before we come on to kind of those fights and the potential to see some super fights in that division for the years to come, just with Ryan's victory, what kind of flaws did you see in his performance, and how much will the other leading fighters at 135 take confidence from seeing him get dropped by Luke? Is that just down to Luke's perfect timing, or is there a flaw there where he's a little bit open when he's on the offense?
No, really. If I'd read so much into that, I read a lot of stuff online. A lot of people saying, "Oh, look, he's easy to hit." Listen, Luke Campbell's a precision puncher. He's a great fighter. He's a really good fighter. So, it was a well-executed shot. He gave him a few lefts down the middle, a few lefts down the middle, a few lefts to the body down the middle. Then he loops it around the side, bang on the chin, shot he didn't see. But I thought he showed a good chin because, he got clipped and he went down. But he looked okay. He never really looked in any serious trouble. That's why I think Luke Campbell didn't jump on him, because he knew, all right, I scored the knockdown, but he's okay. He recovered straight away. So, look, he's boxing. He was stepping to Luke Campbell. He was taking it to him. I think he was at a point where he was happy to take one to give one. You know what I mean? I think Luke Garcia felt Campbell's power, felt his strength, and thought, I'm happy to take one to give one. Sometimes, if you're in there with a bigger puncher, then maybe you'll adjust your tactics differently, and you won't be so happy to stand in range, where Garcia was constantly stepping forward with that front foot, constantly putting Luke Campbell under pressure, because he obviously thought, no, I'll gamble, I'll take your shot, you won't take mine. He was happy to exchange that power. He was happy to stand in distance and trade. So, against someone like Gervonta Davis, that might not be the case. He might have to be a lot more cagey and defensively aware, and maybe he'll have to move his head more. But I think every fight's different. You know what I mean? Every fight's different. So therefore, every game plan, every tactics are different for every fight and every opponent. He did the right thing for Luke Campbell. If he was to fight a Gervonta Davis, maybe he'd have to approach that fight very differently. But you cross those bridges when the time comes. Right now, we can all pick holes in anyone's performance in any fight. If you want to nitpick, but I think really that's not really doing justice to the performance. I think really we should just all be speaking well of how good Garcia was, because Luke Campbell, went 12 good rounds with Lomachenko. It wasn't a close fight. Lomachenko was an absolutely clear winner, won nearly every round, but every single round was competitive. He certainly didn't do to him what Garcia did. And even Linares, that was a razor-thin fight. Some people thought Luke Campbell should have got that decision. It was a close fight. So, you have to say it was a very impressive performance from Ryan Garcia, without a doubt.
Matt, just a final thing on the fight. Obviously, Luke dropping Ryan in the second round. One of the judges still scored it at 10-9. I don't know if that's the first you've heard of it or not, but just your thoughts on that.
Well, I just thought the scores from the judges was, in my opinion, was out. Again, it's opinions. There were some of the rounds that were close. That wasn't a close round. I gave Luke the round anyway, even if it wasn't spin the knockdown. So it was definitely a 10-8 round. I thought Garcia won the first. I thought Luke Campbell won the next three. You know what I mean? They were close. They were close rounds, but I thought he landed the better shots. Garcia was pushing forward, but I thought Campbell was landing the better shots in rounds 2, 3, and 4. Round 5, Garcia started to take over. He won the round and he hurt Campbell at the end of that round. Then he had a big 6th round as well. He definitely took charge and looked the boss. So, it's funny boxing because I thought rounds 5 and 6 were big for Garcia, and probably even the first was big for Garcia. Then the other 3 were close, but I thought Campbell nicked them, and obviously there was the point off for the knockdown. So, like I say, I thought at the point of it going into that 7th round, I had Campbell actually with his nose in front, but I know the scores were very different. Like Hayes scored that round 10-9 when he put him down and won the round. I don't even see how you get to that. But again, we can go on all day about different things. In the end, it didn't matter because he knocked him out with a body shot, which was a brilliant body shot to slip and time it perfectly to get that distance right against the southpaw just underneath. Beautifully timed, beautifully measured, precision.
You mentioned a number of fighters earlier there, Matt, had likes of Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, Gervonta Davis. You got Shakur Stevenson, who could move up as well, amongst others. James Tennyson, as your colleague Johnny Nelson will put in there as well. With regards to Ryan Garcia, who would you like to see him face next? He's called that tank. A lot of people were saying on social media they'd rather him see him face Devin Haney, he's the mandatory 4. What would you like to see next?
Well, look, let's just be realistic for one thing. First of all, Gervonta Davis is with Al Heyman. Lopez is with Top Rank, who fights on ESPN. So, politics that's not going to be an easy fight to make. Do you know what I mean? That's a difficult fight to make. Right, now we've got Ryan Garcia and we've got Devin Haney, and both of those guys fight on DAZN. Okay, Devin Haney's with Eddie Hearn, Matt True. Ryan Garcia's with Golden Boy, but they're both on DAZN, and we know DAZN would love that fight because it's a huge fight. Also, the WBC have mandated it, I think. It was the interim champion, and Haney's the WBC champion, isn't he? So that's the natural fight to happen, to make the fight. They're both young, but whoever loses that fight is still going to go on and have a great career. They might do a rematch, they might do a trilogy, they might not do an immediate rematch, they might go different ways for a bit and come back. It's who knows, but what I do know is that's out of the 4, that's the fight that's going to be the easiest to make. And actually, the WBC need to clean that up anyway. So I just hope that fight doesn't get swerved for whatever reason. I hope the fight happens. And listen, I don't even know who I think could win that one. I think probably before Saturday night, I would have gone with Haney. No, I would have gone with Haney before Saturday night, but I'm not so sure now.
Matt, just moving forwards once again and onto another fight which happened at the back end of last year. Saul Canelo Alvarez overcoming Callum Smith with a unanimous decision victory. Just reflect on that one for me, Matt. We haven't had a chance to catch up over it. What were your thoughts?
Look, listen, he was very, very impressive because, Callum Smith's a good fighter, proper fighter, Ring Magazine champion. He was the number 1. He was the best super middleweight in the world, as far as I'm concerned. And I think universally that was kind of agreed, accepted. And he won easy, didn't he, Canelo? He just won easy. And to, these special fighters like your Mayweathers and your Canelos, they just stop you doing what you do. They just neutralize you. You've got these guys, Callum Smith, they're serious fighters, dangerous, but they just take that away. They neutralize you. They take away that threat because they stop you doing what you do. Who even thinks to target someone's bicep to deaden their arm? People don't even think like that. I know you have heard of people doing it, but not very, very rare. But to really target, and he did. It was a tactic of his, and he deadened his left arm. And Callum Smith's got that great catch and counter left hook. He's got a long jab. His arm was gone. He just deadened his arm, and then his head movement, constantly edging forward, it's got you under pressure. And when you throw a shot and you get countered, or you throw a shot, a combination and you miss, hit fresh air, and then someone steps to you, it makes you nervous. You're under threat, you're under pressure, it burns your energy. And then all of a sudden, every time you throw a shot, you either miss and waste energy or you get countered and stung. Eventually, you stop throwing punches. And that's what happened with Callum Smith. He became redundant. Canelo neutralised him, just took away all his dangerous threat. Then, as they say, he's dancing to his beat. He's controlling you. He's dictating the terms. He's running the show. Then he just systematically, methodically started breaking you down. He just showed you what a genius fighter Canelo is. Look, he's pound for pound. He's the number one guy, definitely. I think that's without a doubt now. He to go up and down the weights and to give away in the natural sizes, but for it not even to be an issue. I remember Mayweather when he fought Conor McGregor. They talked about size, and he says, "Fighting wins fights. Size doesn't win fights. Fighting wins fights." But then there were still weight divisions in boxing for a reason. Size does matter. But I think when you're that good, like a Mayweather or a Canelo, when you're that good, size doesn't matter. They're just too good. Do you know what I mean? They just take everything away.
Matt, since then, we've seen it seems to be that it will be Canelo versus Yildirim is WBC mandatory. And then we're looking at most probably seems to be Billy Joe Saunders after that in May. In your eyes, who do you see out there having the best chance of defeating Canelo? It seems to be a lot of people were mentioning Artur Beterbiev if Canelo moved back up to 175 as one of the probably leading names to beat him. But in your eyes, who do you think has or holds the best chance of defeating Canelo?
Look, I think from a style point of view, Billy Joe's will cause him problems. The other kind of slick, fast southpaws he's boxed, Lara, Austin Trout, they gave him problems. You know what I mean? So I think Billy Joe can definitely cause him problems, but I don't know if he can beat him because I just think Canelo's just seems to find a way no matter what, even against those guys who stylistically were probably hard work for him, but he still finds a way to win. And I actually think I think Canelo's really at the top of his game right now. They talk about players. People were saying. I remember Gary Lineker when we were doing a bit of a tribute to Maradona, and it was like he was unplayable. He was unplayable at that point in his career, and I just think maybe Canelo's untouchable right now. Do you know what I mean? He's listen. If Golovkin was the man for him, probably, but Golovkin's been on the slide. I think Golovkin was probably on the slide even before they fought their first time, but he's just gone further and further downhill. But I think Canelo's getting even better.
Moving forwards and onto this year, Matt, we've seen the British Boxing Board of Control have suspended all boxing for January in the UK due to the coronavirus pandemic and the increase, obviously, cases across the UK. Just kind of your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm just absolutely gutted. I was really looking forward to the Avanesi and Kelly fight. Not just that fight, but the whole card, but particularly that fight. I mean, it's been talked about for a while. It's a real fight. Josh Kelly, we've seen him had so much potential, flamboyant, got some great moves, lots of talent there. But listen, Venetians, that's a real fight. That'll tell us a lot about Kelly. Gutted, absolutely gutted. I was, gutted. What else do you say? I was looking forward to the fight, looking forward to the show, looking forward to calling the fights. But, it's probably the saying of the year, isn't it? It is what it is. What can you do? What can we do? There's nothing. So you just have to get on with it and hope for the best.
Seems to be, Matt, that fight is just, for as much as those teams might hate to hear it, a little cursed.
Yeah, look, you can overthink things. Look, it is what it is. The COVID happened. None of us know what's going to happen next. None of us knows what the future holds or when it's going to end, when it's not going to end. But you just got to live day by day and roll with the punches. Live life on life's terms and roll with the punches as they come. We're just at that. We're all still here. Still, as life goes on. It's a tough time, but tough times don't last. Tough people do. And the boxing, it'll keep going. It's a nose. We're all a bit gutted about it, but there's nothing we can do about it. So there's no point getting stressed out and frustrated about it. You got to accept the things you cannot control. You accept the things you can't change. And is what it is.
Matt, just a couple more things I want to touch on before I leave you to enjoy the rest of your evening. I want you to think of and give me 3 fights that you would like to see happen this year and why.
Well, Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, number 1 or 2, probably Fury AJ number 1. Those joint number 1, to be honest, both of them. Then listen, any fight involving those got top guys in the lightweight division, Lopez, Gervonta Davis, Garcia, Haney, even throw in the winner of Ramirez and Josh Taylor. Listen, Lopez might step up. I don't know how long Lopez can keep making 135 pounds. You know what I mean? He may go up to 140. If he does, maybe he'll fight the winner of Ramirez and Josh Taylor. That's an easy fight to make because they're all with top rank. So, listen, that's a great fight. You know what I'm saying? So, look, any of those really. But look, AJ Fury, probably number 1, followed very closely by Spence Crawford. And then any fight involving those guys at kind of lightweight or super lightweight.
All right, Matt. So give me a breakdown of certainly at least those first 2 fights of how you think they would play out if we were to see them this year.
Well, I think you've got to make Tyson Fury a strong favourite. But at the same time, it's certainly not a foregone conclusion. Like, I think if anyone is going to beat Fury, it will be AJ. Listen, the way he beat Wilder was impressive. I thought he'd outbox him like he did in the first fight, but he didn't. He took the centre of the ring and he backed him up. You know what I'm saying? So that was impressive. AJ, I think, has got his confidence back now. I don't think he had it fully back going into the fight with Pulev, but I think he has now. And I think Wilder was the most dangerous man in the world, heavyweight in the world, biggest one-punch power. But I think AJ's a much better fighter all round. And I think now he's had the Pulev fight. I'm glad that from his point of view, it's good that the Pulev fight happened before going into a Fury fight. Because I don't think he fully exercised all the demons from the first Ruiz fight. But I think he probably has now. We got 9 good rounds under his belt there. We got a lot of shots off. Scored a brilliant knockout win in the end. So I think that's really given his confidence a big lift. But like I say, I stick with Fury being the favourite. But it's certainly not a foregone conclusion. I think that's I could definitely see how AJ would beat him. Like, if anyone's going to beat Fury, it'll be AJ. That said, if I had to pick, I'm picking Fury.
And then Crawford, Spence. Matt, obviously we saw Errol Spence return after his horrific car accident with a very convincing victory over Danny Garcia.
Listen, I think Spence is an absolute top fighter, one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. Yeah, he may not be the best welterweight in the world. I think Crawford is. Look, it's a tough one to call that. I don't know really, but if I had to pick, I'd probably lean to Crawford.
And then the final thing, Matt, just kind of reflect on the 2020 experiences for me that you kind of went through with regards to boxing shows and without having the crowds there, trying to effectively provide a similar level of commentary as what you would with crowds there and trying to create the same sense of a buzz that you would have with having packed out arenas.
Well, it was difficult. I mean, initially we used to think, I wonder what it's going to be like fighting here for the fighters. Is it going to be hard for them to get up for it? They're used to boxing in front of thousands, the crowd, the atmosphere, the build-up. None of that's going to happen. But like I said, we all have to adapt and adjust, and you move with the times, and that's what everyone has done. First and foremost, the fighters, the trainers. But even from a TV point of view, normally I'm sat ringside. I can nearly smell the sweat and blood, and you know what I mean. You're there. You can see everything. You can hear things in the corner. But this time we were way back. And you're trying to watch it, and I'm half watching it on the monitor that I've got, and it's difficult, really. And then you're trying to create the atmosphere and the excitement for the viewer. But we don't have the crowd to feed off, where normally that's easily done because we're that buzzed up and excited from the atmosphere and the energy of the crowd. that translates across into our voice, our passion, our excitement. Without the crowd being there, it was more difficult. That said, because so many of the fights were really, really good, once you got a few under your belt, we actually got into it then. And the fights were, it's a bit like when you're boxing. When you're boxing and you're in that ring, you can't hear anything. You got 20,000 people screaming and shouting and roaring and cheering, and the volume's off the scale. But actually, when you're in there, you don't hear anything, but you do hear noise. You do hear energy levels. But you don't hear specific things because you're so focused. And I think with this, because we were engrossed in these fights, because they were back and forth, up and down, we were excited in the moment. We're in that moment then. We're just focused on that. And we're like, whoa, he's got him, yeah, whatever. So I think actually we probably managed to create excitement and buzz because we were genuinely excited and buzz. If I'm sitting there and I'm not excited and I'm not buzzed up and I'm not passionate, well, I can't transmit it. I can't transmit something that I haven't got. But because the fights were genuinely great fights, and because I was genuinely passionate and excited and kind of invested in them, it was easy to transmit that across, I think. And, as a fan watching it on the television, you want to hear that, So, look, it was harder because the crowd weren't there. But like I say, because the matches were good, we got into it.
Matt, we'll leave up there now, and I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your evening. I appreciate you giving up some time today. I'm sure I'll be pestering you more in the coming weeks and the rest of this year. Appreciate your time as always, mate. Thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
No problem. Good man, Andi.